Law is written intentionally complicated so nobody can read it except for lawyers. Not true. I am a lawyer. Law is just tough to read. It doesn't matter who you are. The difference between me and you is that I've done a ton of it, and so I've learned a lot of tricks to make it a little bit easier to read. And I'm going to teach another one of those tricks to you right now. I'm Brian. I make videos about law and civics. Please share this, comment, get it out there so people will see it. Videos about law and civics aren't the most popular thing on TikTok, believe it or not. Yesterday, we talked about this big mess of a statute here, which is the criminal trespass statute from Illinois. And I pointed out that it's much easier to read once you realize that it's really all just one long sentence with a colon up here, semicolons at the end of every paragraph, and a period down at the bottom. And as I pointed out yesterday, the word "or" right here at the end of the second to last paragraph tells you that any one of these paragraphs can meet the requirements of whatever it says before the green colon up there. That means that you don't have to look at this whole chunk of stuff. You can actually look at section A and then just look at paragraph 1 by itself. Just look at paragraph 2 by itself, etc. So here's how we do that. A person commits criminal trespass to real property when he or she knowingly and without lawful authority enters or remains within or on a building. And if it doesn't work for you, then just look at section 2. And then just look at section 3. And by breaking each of these out separately, it makes this much more readable. So that was the other video in a nutshell. Let's take it one step further. The next important step is to break the requirements out of this statute so they're actually readable and your brain can sort of process them. Now this one's nice and short, so we can do it pretty easily. If I have a particularly problematic statute, I might go through and mark out things that aren't necessary for me to read. So criminal trespass may not be important. To real property, like I get it, I'm talking about real property, and maybe my client is female. So just to make this easier for me to read, I might change it to a person commits trespass when she, just to make it simple. Now we'll look at the actual meat of the clause. The first thing you want to do is look for a verb in section 1, and you're going to see that the verb, the action that happens, is entering or remaining. Everything else is kind of working around that. So you can separate off entering or remaining. Within a building tells you where the action occurs, so I might block that off. And then it looks like knowingly and without lawful authority describes how they enter or remain. Now, you may not realize it, but what you've just done is worked out the 4 requirements of trespass under section 1. A person commits trespass when she, 1, knowingly, 2, without lawful authority, 3, enters or remains, 4, within or on a building. And you can separate these clauses however you want. Sometimes I'll draw a little line with a pen, sometimes I'll use highlighters, whatever you want to do to separate them, but it makes them so they're readable. And now that you got section 1 figured out, you can block it out however you want and focus on section 2 and look for the clauses in there. This one actually has commas in it, which really breaks things out easily. And read this. It's not well written. It's confusing. After receiving prior to entry, that could have been written better. Feel free to rearrange it. Make it work for you. After receiving notice, but prior to entry, she entered upon the land. Put the sentence in an order that makes sense. But that's way easier to do when you've narrowed it down to just section 2. Now you can look this up for yourself. You can Google Illinois trespass statute and take a look at the rest of it. See what you think. And remember, the reason lawyers can do this is that we do it a lot. We've had to do it a ton of times until we've gotten used to it. And more importantly, we've figured out tricks that work for us. I have trouble reading this in this order, so I have to rearrange it so it makes sense to me every single time. And I can probably do that a lot faster than you because I've done it thousands of times. But there's no reason you can't do that. Okay, thanks for watching. Try this out, and I'll have another video coming on that has to do with these statutes pretty soon. Thanks, everybody.